Tremendous decision to join us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. Today, we're in our studio talking to Zack Moss. This guy is a complete running back. He's a very, very tough runner. He has tremendous contact balance. He's going to get everything he possibly can out of every single run. He's going to finish every run hard. He'll catch the ball out of the backfield. He's outstanding in blitz pickup. We talked to him about all of that. We talked to him about how and where he learned it. We talked to him about his high school career, his collegiate career, and here in the National Football League, and already in the NFL. Drafted in the third round, been traded, now signed as a free agent. He's gotten to teams every way you can possibly get to teams. We talk about that with him and so much more. You're going to enjoy Zack Moss. We appreciate you joining us once again in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. As always, we are in our studios, outstanding studios, provided to us by First Star Logistics. And we are joined by a very, very special guest. The Cincinnati Bengals in free agency acquire Zack Moss, running back. And Zack Moss is with us today, and we do appreciate your time, Zack. We're going to talk a little bit of football. How do you feel about that, my man?
Let's do it, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go back to your senior year in high school. You rushed for 1,098 yards. You averaged 7.57 yards per attempt. You score 17 rushing touchdowns. I mean, you commit to Miami, and then it ends up being Utah. Why the change? Why the change from Miami to Utah?
I think, I knew I didn't want to stay at home, growing up in Miami and, all the different things that offers and being so close to home. I think, I didn't know where it was going to be after I, ended up not saying I was going to go to Miami. Obviously, I had family that went to University of Miami and things of that nature. So it was a little hard to, not kind of, want to, continue that trend or whatever. But Utah just made it really, really easy for me to want to go there. I think another big thing was, playing time, how quick I was going to play. You read off some stats from my senior year in high school. That was my first year ever playing running back fully ever. And we kind of talked about that a little bit when I was in Cincinnati the other day and I saw you. But so that was my first time, only playing running back. And I wanted to go somewhere where I could, continue to learn, and without having to take a red shirt and playing as fast as I could. And Utah gave me the opportunity.
Because you were playing, like you said, the first year that you played exclusively at the running back position, you had been playing inside linebacker. So, I mean, I've talked to plenty of safeties that converted from wide receiver to safety, and they said, I can't tell you how much an advantage that was, having played the wide receiver position, knowing route combinations, knowing what guys are thinking, trying to set up routes and all that. And having that knowledge at the safety position, seeing it not only through the eyes of a safety, but through the eyes of a former running back. When you're running the football, having played that inside linebacker position and understanding gap control responsibilities and front seven movements and all that, how much of an advantage do you think that gives you as a running back now?
Yeah, it's a big advantage. Definitely playing that position, kind of understanding what backers want to do, what they're taught to do. That's not a part of my game where I never, I played, linebacker probably from 10 to about 6, maybe about 15, 16 years old. So just understanding, the role, what they're supposed to do and things like that, and kind of where they're supposed to be in the gaps. And every year, going through these different levels of football, from going from high school and understanding that level of linebackers and how they're being taught. Then you go to college where you're playing with even, guys that are very, very talented and learning how they're supposed to do it. So I've always been intrigued, and I never lost that part of it because I knew it was an advantage of just continuing learning, because it's only going to help me, because, they're mirroring me more than anything. They're trying to figure out what I'm trying to do and how quickly I'm going to declare, where I'm going and things like that. So, understanding that gives me, another advantage that I can play off of and, work with that and, make it a little bit more easier for the offensive line to, try to deliver them to their blocks and, then kind of just make it happen off of that.
So Utah had some great success when you were there as a player. In your senior year at Utah, 1,246 rushing yards, 6.2 yards a carry, which is phenomenal. Rushed for 15 touchdowns. First three-time 1,000-yard rusher in school history, all-time leading rusher in school history, all Pac-12, Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, 4,067 yards rushing, 38 rushing touchdowns, both school records. You lit it up at Utah, didn't you?
I tried. Yeah, no, it was definitely, great time, going to Utah. I mean, I couldn't have, pictured it happening any better. That school gave me the opportunity to play the position that I wanted to play. And, I was able to excel at that position, just being around, guys that allowed me to go ahead and do my best on the field from, obviously the players and the coaches. So it was great. And I just try to do my best each and every week and, kind of leave everything out there. And, I think it worked out pretty well.
When I watch you run the football, one thing that sticks out to me as a former offensive lineman is your contact balance. I mean, you are hard to knock off your feet, and I mean, you'll spin, you'll do everything to keep that contact balance, and you run with that low center of gravity at at 5'9". You can, and with that the way you control your body, it's like trying to tackle a pectoral and a quadricep. You don't give much hit surface. Man. I mean, it's like, dude, it's tough to get a big hit on you.
No, I mean, I pride myself on that. I try to do more of the hitting than getting hit.
Yeah.
It's worked for me pretty well, and kind of staying healthy and being healthy and feeling my best. So yeah, I think it's more so just from how my body's built up. That we touched on it a little bit. It's like once I started playing the position, I always loved the position, the running back position, especially back in the day, early 2000s, mid 2000s. It was a position that was relied on, quite a bit for a while, and it was so many really good running backs. But the two that always stood out to me that I just kind of gravitated towards, that I always just liked, was Marshawn and Arian Foster. And Marshawn was more so, I liked the way he approached the game, for one. Just the way he approached it, his body style, his body comp. He didn't have big strides. He wasn't the fastest dude. He wasn't the most shiftiest dude in the league, but he could make you miss. He was hard to bring down. He had great contact balance. Just all of those things, I kind of saw myself being able to, with my body makeup and kind of how I was looking at myself and, the way I was training at that time, it was that guy. And then the style of running with Arian Foster, the patience, the one cut downhill, not going to do, the side to side, try to make you miss too much. It's going to get downhill and take what the defense gives them and keep doing that. So, when I added those two together, from just the approach and the mindset and body style of Marshawn to the style of running, which Arian ran with, which I always thought he was very underrated in what he was doing.
Yeah.
In his time in Houston. And I love his story, kind of growing up being, a guy that he wasn't highly recruited. Obviously then he went to Tennessee, and his story going through there and kind of how he rose to be able to have the success that he did in the league. So I always loved his story as well. So just putting those two dudes together, I think that's why I've, put a lot of my game is from those two dudes.
It's again watching you with that low pad level, and you always have them squared up. You have them squared up to the goal line. I mean, it's like, man, that to me that's a big deal, and like you say, maybe you're not going to run away from guys like Olympic sprint or something, but you have functional football speed. I mean, if there's 30 yards to get, you're going to get them. You're one of those guys that are going to get those yards. There's no question about that. So you come out of college and you get drafted in the third round by the Buffalo Bills. And you get a guy named Josh Allen that's the quarterback with that football team. So they're going to throw the football. So now it's okay. It's very important that let's pick up be able to do it and understand what I'm supposed to do. Not blow an assignment and have a free runner at Josh Allen. And then when I am in the correct position, making sure techniques, fundamentals, all those things are right, and being able to catch the football, out of the backfield and providing an alternative there. Did you develop those two skills even further in your time with the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, I definitely developed both of those skills even further. In college, obviously, my running back coach in college, Coach Kyle McDonald, who is now the running back coach at the Chargers, he taught us early on how to pass block, and the importance of pass blocking, right? The importance part of it stuck out to me, obviously, because I knew I had dreams and aspirations of going to that next level, and hopefully playing out a lengthy career. It's real easy for anybody to run the ball. Like, you can put almost anybody to run a ball. That's really not that hard. You see it now. They got receivers, lined up in the backfield and things of that nature. So it's not, super hard to run the ball. You can fall for it and get 4 yards sometimes.
Right.
But he taught us that, the thing that was going to make you stick in this league is pass protection, right? Being able to block for the franchise. You play in college, sometimes, you might be the best player on the team, or somebody on your defense side might be the best. Your quarterback sometimes isn't always the best player, right? In this league, the quarterback makes every single thing go. So when I got drafted to Buffalo, it was like a perfect matchup from having like, okay, well, I'm not really worried about not being able to play because I know I can get on the field and I can block, right? And then once I put, the time in and learning and all that type of stuff into the, learning the nuances of the offense and what we want to do and execute each and every week, it made it so much easier to go out there and play. And, blocking was something that was big for me then. It's been big for me every year since. And, in this league, you're going to play with really, really good quarterbacks if you stick around long enough. So if you can block, you're just going to continue to add years to your career. And the more you can do, the better. So being able to block and understanding my blocking assignments is, very, very big for me and something I take pride in.
Yeah, that's going to be beautiful music to Joe Burrow's ears when he hears this, that you talking about how important, blitz pickup, pass protection, all that sort of thing is. And you have a very high football IQ. I mean, in terms of the intelligence of knowing, who you're supposed to block, and working with, your tight ends, everybody else involved in the protection, the offensive line, what linemen are going to take block from the inside out, and you've got this outside guy if he comes. And sometimes there's like, okay, I've got the inside guy, but if he doesn't come, I check back out to the outside guy. All those things that go along with it. Everybody feels very comfortable about your ability to handle all that. Have you always had a pretty good football IQ?
Yeah, it's definitely something that's, as years ago, you try to figure out ways to continue to get better and learn more about the game and things of that nature. But it's something I've always had more of a natural ability to kind of just understand. It can be, a good and a bad thing because I can learn, look at a play one time and execute that play, go out and just run it once, and then it's kind of stuck without me really trying.
That's great.
So it's a good thing, that I can just go on the field and, if depending on what protection we're in, and I don't like to kind of hide anything. I'll go out and I'll point exactly at who I got, where I'm supposed to go next. I'll just go stand and point directly at those two guys or three guys, whoever it is. And, in Buffalo, they gave me a lot of responsibility. The backs there, we had to do a lot of responsibility of knowing, pass protections and pass blocking and being able to scan left to right. at all times, no matter what side of the field we're on. Sometimes in this league, a lot of teams, they'll, slide the protection away from the running back.
Yep.
That way, they don't have that much to do in a sense, right? But in Buffalo, we would slide it to us, from us. It really didn't matter. And then being in that conference, playing against New England and Miami, and Miami at the time was kind of a New England-based defense, so just different body types, and it was real, good to learn and see different body types, and you know, kind of be able to process from there. So now when I see a linebacker body type, I know exactly where he's supposed to be, where he's not supposed to be. And then if it's a DB, you bring the safety down to that spot. I can also, be able to understand what their job is and things like that. And I've also just had really good coaches as well, throughout my time, that helped me learn and process the game a lot faster and just broke it down nice and easy. And I just be able to put my own touch on it.
So you were drafted in the 3rd round by the Buffalo Bills, and then you get traded to the Indianapolis Colts. So you're with another franchise, and then at the end of July, you break your arm, broken arm. You have to have surgery this past season of 23, but you come back and you lead the team in rushing, 794 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, another 192 yards receiving, 2 more touchdowns. Almost 1,000 yards of offense. 14 games you played, 8 of them you started. I mean, what was it like making the transition from Buffalo to Indianapolis? How similar, how different were things for you offensively and with your responsibilities within those offenses?
Totally different offense. Totally different offense. When I got there, we had Matt Ryan with the starting quarterback, so it's a totally different offense from being in the offense with Josh. Being in the offense with Josh is more, spread and kind of spaced out and things of that nature. In Indy, when we had Matt, it was very systematic type of offense, and everything kind of played off, each other. But when I got there, it was a good thing. I was kind of, happy to go to Indy because I knew it was a run first team.
Yeah.
That's who I am. I'm a back that loves to be able to run the ball, 15, 20 touches. I'm able to handle that. And I feel like I've done, a pretty good job each and every time that I've been able to get that amount of opportunities. But so when I went to Indy, I was like, okay, well, I know I'm going to be able to be in the team that runs the ball. Obviously knew JT was going to be there and things like that. And, he's a hell of a player. So I didn't know what it was going to look like, how many, I didn't really have any expectations on, playing time, anything like that. Unfortunately, he ended up getting injured and I was able to finish out the season.
Right.
And, I had, one really good game that I was proud of, that ended the season out, but those 3 or 4 games where I was the starter, it was crazy because I was just getting my feet back wet, or I hadn't played, essentially in that capacity, of a game in a while. So it was like, okay, I'm learning the offense still. Like every week I was still learning the offense, learning the plays, learning everything kind of, and then learning the guys in front of me as well at the same time. So with all that, but I felt like I kept getting better week after week after week. Like JT got hurt the Vikings game. I was the next man up, so I finished out the Vikings game. Didn't have a great game, but I took away from the film and being like, okay, just getting on the, okay, cool. Then I think we ended up playing the Chargers next, and I had about 60, 70 yards that game. And I felt good about that and just what I was able to do essentially. Then we played the Giants and had about another 60 or 70 yards again. So I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. I know, this offensive line that I got can obviously block the run. They have been great at blocking the run for years.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. And then the Houston game, in the season out, that was just a beautiful game, just the way to close that out, go into the off season with all type of momentum, feel really, really good. At least put myself in, the RB2 going into next season. Obviously, we knew we were going to have new coaches and all this different type of stuff. So, I was like, okay, well, I'll put enough here, right, to be able to, when they see it, they're like, okay, we can probably use this guy. And then, obviously JT's injury and then contraction stuff kind of just drug out throughout the offseason into OTAs and training camp. OTAs, I just continued to just build and build and build confidence and learn, now we have new offense. So learn the new offense and getting, just getting to work with those guys and putting the work in as the RB1 at the time. So, I was feeling pretty good, and training camp came around and did about the first week of that. And then, as you mentioned, broke my arm, my forearm on the first day of full pads.
Unreal.
Yeah. So, automatically, a lot of people would just go straight into that mindset of like, why this, why that, bad timing. And, you go on social media and you see, oh, he missed out on his opportunity, all these different type of just, conversations that's happening and things like that. But, I just stayed into my routine and just tried to do my best to rehab and get as healthy as I could. He ended up only missing one game, and man, I couldn't have, pictured it happening any better than it did when I came back.
Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, that's an unbelievable recovery. And then to put up the numbers that I talked about that you put up are just phenomenal. So now you were drafted in the third round, you were traded, and now as a free agent, you signed with the Cincinnati Bengals. So I mean, you've experienced the gamut of how you can, from a personnel standpoint, how you can move around the National Football League. And the good news is the only other one is termination. You don't want to deal with that for a while. You got about 10 years left before you deal with something like that. But, so you come to Cincinnati, 2-year contract. What did you like about the potential of joining the Cincinnati Bengals organization when you were in the process of making your decision?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, when, Cincinnati got in the picture, honestly, it was kind of late in the day when they came around because I hadn't even been really thinking of Cincinnati being a potential spot. So, when it came around, the first thing that went through my mind was, okay, well, I know the type of talent they have on the offensive side of the ball, right? And then we just had played last season, and I knew the offensive talent, obviously, from last year, then the years before, Super Bowl run, AFC Championship run, being one play away from going to 2 straight Super Bowls, and being only a few plays away in that Super Bowl in LA from winning. So I knew the type of talent was there. And, I kind of said it, all through the presser the other day, but just the space, for a running back to be, in an offense that has space
Yep.
is pretty. And I took pride in, going against defenses, knowing they might stack the box, maybe having to deal with a safety and, sometimes getting tackled by 5-6 dudes and, only getting 4 yards. I took pride in that sometimes,
Right.
a lot of the time. But, being able to go into a team that, loves to execute plays and build offense out of space and then having the weapons outside to do it, that's going to be huge. Last time I played in the offense with space to that degree, right? We had my senior in high school, we had 5 dudes go Division I at receiver.
Wow.
And our quarterback, obviously Tyler Huntley, I played with him in Utah, and now he just signed with the Browns. So I think he played the Bengals in playoffs one year when Lamar was hurt. So the last time I was in offense with that much space, I didn't even know that stat, but you said 7.2. Now, obviously, this is the league, and it's probably not going to be 7.2.
Right.
I want to put that out there and make that real clear. But, there's something about just being in offense with space, knowing, okay, the most I can really see, right, in a box is, 5-6 guys. If you do any more than that, man, you know, we got it's gonna be real bad for you, like really quick.
Right.
Um, I mean, just because you've seen it just over the years, man. These guys, Jamar and T and Joe, and now you add Mike Gesicki, come across the middle, and Irwin, and all these guys that have been a big part of the team for a while now. You know, it's hard to load up a box. It's just
Yep.
really, really hard. And then when you have a quarterback like Joe who can see the game the way he sees the game and gets the ball in his hands so fast and takes advantage of every single thing that the defense gives him, and that makes it really, really hard. So, I'm looking definitely forward to OTAs and kind of seeing, carving out a role and kind of seeing what that role is and getting with the big guys up front and just learning those guys and kind of seeing, how I can help them and, vice versa. Because I think it could be a good thing. We got a lot of talent in the running back room as well, obviously. So with that much space, we got guys that can do a lot of damage. And it's all about, going out there and doing it.
So you mentioned, that during the course of your career in Buffalo, Devin Singletary was somebody that you kind of split duties with a little bit. Jonathan Taylor with the Indianapolis Colts, and you mentioned here in Cincinnati. I mean, everybody knows Brown had some success, obviously, with the Bengals as a rookie. He can hit the home run. He's a long speed guy. There's no question about that. So, I mean, you weren't really promised any role as such, other than you're going to be part of the running back room and let's go out and compete and see who gets what. But I mean, obviously they think highly of you to sign you as a free agent and to get after it. They understand the talents you have. And but in today's NFL, you don't want to beat the heck out of one running back. There's no question about that. You want to have, multiple bodies. But man, I'm excited to see you in a situation where that box isn't loaded. Like you said, I mean, the field spread, they got to have people out there covering, or it's going to be a one-play drive, man. It'll be over. And then, to see you take advantage of those light boxes, man. I'm excited to see you get after it. I really am.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a lot of fun. Like you said, it's all about the work. The work we're gonna put in that we've been putting in right now, and then obviously the work we're gonna put in during OTAs, and building that camaraderie, and obviously us, like the new guys we're joining in and things like that. So our job is to come in and get with these guys and work our tails off and do our best that we can each and every day, and just make sure that it's full with competition, and being leaders and being accountable, and being able to depend on each guy that no matter what the role is, whatever the roster spot is, just being guys that this guy can look over to and be like, okay, I can depend on this guy, and he knows his job, and he's going to do his job at a high level.
I think everybody listening to this podcast will agree that you're intelligent, articulate. You're seem like a heck of a good guy, and the Bengals have built a culture with great chemistry, in the locker room, and you're going to be a great addition to that. And what sold me is, on a day so important to you, who's with you? Your wife, your 9-month-old son. I mean, you're a family man. I mean, there's that had to be a big day for you, a great day for your family, man.
Yeah, it definitely was. I definitely wanted to have him there for the memories. And I'm big about creating memories and things like that. Those are things that last. And as many as I can create, that's what I want to do. So it was definitely a great time, great day, and hopefully we can continue to build on that going forward.
Now you have to just decide. I'm sure you and your wife didn't have time to go look at real estate locations or anything like that where you might want to live and everything that goes along with it. But that's going to be part of the process now. And I was married my rookie year in the National Football League as well. In fact, I get married like a week before training camp my rookie year. And I'm a guy that can attest to the fact that wives, man, they're MVPs. When you have a wife, an understanding wife, of what it's like to be married to a professional athlete, that's a rare breed. I mean, for them to handle it well, that's a big deal. That's a big plus, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a big plus. It's it's so much demand that's required from us, and a lot of people think it goes into the off season too, just the daily commitment of being your best, feeling your best. You don't always feel your best, so that can be a little tough as well.
Right.
But it definitely makes it so much easier to handle just the day to day, and be able to continue to play this game at a high level.
We talked about this when you were in town as well. Frank Pollock's running game, inside, outside zone. Some of that zone concept stuff where you make such good decisions and make your reads either bounce outside, cut it back, or stay right on course or whatever it might be. And then he has the gap scheme where you're going to block down and it's going to pull and pin, and there's angle blocking and all that going on to make sure the defense, we're not going to do the same thing over and over. We're going to have multiple things to do in here, a multiplicity of the run game. That fits you to a T, doesn't it?
Yeah, the inside zone stuff, that was like definitely the first type of run scheming that I learned when I started playing running back, and that's predominantly what we ran in high school.
Right.
And then when I got to college at Utah, I went to 3 different offensive coordinators in 4 years.
Wow.
And it was a bit different. A lot of inside zone is kind of everybody runs the same type of stuff essentially. But being able to be in an offense that loves to utilize the inside zone game, obviously you can do RPOs and all that type of stuff off of that stuff now, which makes it a little bit, give you more space. The outside zone stuff, I kind of got introduced to that more so when I got to Buffalo. That was kind of one of our more staple runs, especially under center. And then the gap scheme stuff, which Indy loved to do, was great. I always, anytime we had a gap scheme, you get that list. You come in on Wednesday, you get that list of what runs we trying to put in, what the run plan is, and things like that. And every time I would see a certain play on there that was gap scheme, or we had 2 or 3 gap schemes, and I was like, okay, well, we got 10 yards minimum, at least. If everything gets blocked up nice and easy. So being able to have been through all of those different run schemes and have a good feel for those run schemes and understanding them, I think that's really, really good. And that was also another thing that obviously intrigued me about Cincinnati.
Well, as a former offensive lineman, watching you on tape, I know that your teammates in the offensive line are going to love to block for you, because one thing that I always respected was a running back that, man, like you said, make a decision, put the foot in the ground, one cut and go. None of this, oh, do I, don't I, hesitation. It's like, come on, man, decide something. Watching you run, I mean, you are an offensive lineman's dream. It's like, hit it, go, get after it. And you do. You get after it big time, and the big boys up front are going to appreciate the heck out of that, Zach.
Yeah, man. It's great when I hear that, just because that's something that I really think about. Like I said, like just being intertwined with the offensive line and being around those guys, because you spend so much time with them.
Sure.
You want to be able to understand what they want to do, and they know what you like to do. Like it'll be times, last season, Big Q, Quinn Nelson.
Yep.
I'll tell them, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I want. Like, just get to the second level a lot faster. Don't hang. Don't post hang too long. Just go ahead and get up there, because I'm holding the linebacker long enough, for you. Or he'll tell me vice versa. Hey, don't run over that way. Like we don't do that.
Right.
But just being able to get downhill. I like to try to get downhill as quick as I can. And that keeps a lot of O-line clean, man. Sometimes you're just dancing back there. Guys start to fall into your legs and all type of stuff. So I try to get through that way, get through that first line as quick as I can, keep those guys clean and healthy. And, even when it's ugly and muddy, just try to make the best out of it and just kind of push the pile.
Yeah, man, you run sudden. I mean, you got a burst now. I mean, your initial quickness is outstanding. And I can see why the Colts run that inside zone. They got a couple of Pro Bowlers at center and guard. Get after it with those big boys up front like that. That's pretty awesome. Well, I enjoyed the heck out of meeting you when you came in town to do your press conference, and Yeah, I really enjoyed this time we spent to introduce you to everybody here today. You're a heck of a guy and an outstanding football player. And the Bengals, I know, feel very, very fortunate to have you under contract for a couple of years, my man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it very, very much.
Zack, have the best day you ever had. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to seeing you at OTAs and getting ready for training camp. Have a good off season.
Yes, sir. I'll see you real soon. You take care.
Sir. Take care. Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.